drawing more energy. And of course, there is increasing population. As you can see on the left hand side figure, from the year 1700 to what we are in 2000 or 2000, here it is given 1999, 2000, 2024, 2048 projections are given. So in the year 2024, of course, now we are at 7 to 8 billion. 2024 it is going to be 8 billion, and 2048 it is going to be 9 billion. So you keep on seeing that it was in the year 1800 or so, it was 1 billion or below. It has come to 7 plus billion now. It may go to 8 billion by 2024, and likewise it's going to increase. But let us see, is it really going to increase, or there will be a fall in the population growth? So coming to this slide, you can see that there is a fall in the growth, especially the growth that is happening in China and India. And it is said that, of course, some African countries, some growth is seen, but in China and India, it is said that the growth rate will halt before what their prediction they have made, but it is before that it is going to come down. Anyway, but in the present scenario, the population growth is going to increase up to definitely up to 2050. So there is a population growth come plus increasing human comfort. So definitely we have an increased energy requirement. So when we say increased energy requirement, there are the associated consequences. So you can see that in this graph, in the year 1800 or so, there was, you see this graph of oil, gas, coal, and the demand scenario is put, of course, during those days, and now also it is mostly non-fossil fossil fuels. There used to be some non-fossil fuels also. So in the year 1860, the graph has been given. As we move forward, so it is coal dominated. Then of course the oil came, then followed by that the gas came, like that. Now we are in the year 2020, it is said that it is we are peaking oil. Okay, the gas will peak sometimes later, and the coal will peak a bit later, if there is no pressure on global warming front. Okay, so of course coal conversion and its use for power, they are coming with the supercritical boilers and power plants. So a lot of changes are happening in that front also. I would like to draw your attention to the 3 point put here below. World crude oil reserves as of 2015, it is sufficient to meet 52.5 years of global production. Similarly, natural gas is sufficient to meet 54.1 years of global production. Coal reserves as of 2015 sufficient to meet 110 years of global production. Different estimates give different figures. Say for in some other literature, you see that coal may have been given 200 plus years also. But in general, think that it is not exhaustive, like it will continue forever. So there is a lifetime given for all these type of fuels. So its source is limited in the earth. So that is what just I would like to tell you. But these figures can vary depending upon the reserves, new reserves. If they come, then this year will increase for the current rate of production. So you can see that we are in year 2018, 19, 20 and all. What you see from this graph, coal it is fluctuating at around 35 to 40%, or 35 to 43%. And you see on the other side that natural gas consumption is going upwards, oil consumption is coming down, and nuclear also is coming down. So the two things, coal remaining almost same, renewables is going up, and oil is coming down, natural gas is going up. Actually, if you remember, this is of course the global scenario. If you remember, our Prime Minister had made a commitment in the Paris Summit of Climate Change in the year 2016, where he had said India is committed to provide 40% of its power through renewables and low carbon footprint fuels. So natural gas is a low carbon footprint fuel and also renewables. That is what I think it's a global thing, like India is also following that path. So if you see the details here, how much we are consuming energy, solid fuels on the left hand side, you can say all type of fuels. Total world million tons of equivalent. So it is 9,977.7, of which USA consumes 23.1. Of course, this is a bit old data, but it is the data more or less remains same in the 20 years. Some fluctuations may be there, but you can see the trend from this graph, sorry, this table. USA is 23.1 percentage of this total energy consumption. European Union, we can see it is around 15%. Japan is around 5.3%. You see, Japan is a very small country that way. Russia is 6.2%. China is 11.4%, and India is 5.2%. We are less than Japan, our consumption. So, of course, there are variety of fuels: solid, liquid means oil, natural gas, nuclear, then renewable, hydro, geothermal, wind, solar, biomass. I will not go into the details, but you can see that how much is the percentage. Geothermal in India at the year in the year 2000 it was 0, hydro 2.8. When we say hydro, all dam-based things. Wind or solar was 1.9%. Biomass is 18.5%. So this is what is the in general energy use scenario in the year 2000. Of course, I will show you some latest update regarding this, the changes that happened. Now you see what is the world population. This is slightly old. It is 2000 year data. Now the population is crossed 7 billion. You see when it was around 6 billion. So developed country population is only 20% and developing countries population is 80%. But you see here the energy consumption, developed countries consuming 60% of the energy, primary energy, and developing countries, although population is 80%, they are consuming only 40%. So per capita energy consumption, let us say for India, the per capita energy consumption is too low for India as compared to developed countries. It is just 4% of USA and 20% of the world average. So let me take you through the scenario, like energy scenario of India. We are coal is the dominating primary energy of India. 55% share it has. So quantity reserves used per day is or annum versus demand as of 2004, 290 million tons per year, and availability locations: Andhra Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Orissa, Jharkhand, West Bengal, and these are all the states. Sector-wise, predominant energy used for power production, that is 70% of our electricity. Of course, this is slightly old data, 2004. It would have slightly come down now. I'll go through that slide a bit later. So you can see that bulk of our power production is by burning coal. Now, as we all know, coal is it has problem. For example, the people who are in the vicinity living here, where I am at Nitte, for example, Udupi, we have a Udupi Power Corporation Limited. When that power plant was to come up, there was a lot of hue and cry. And till date, if you go and ask the people in the surrounding area, they will say, we are having this, does that, does this, salt water, that salt water. So many things they say. But in reality, it may not be. Of course, if a presence of a power plant can have other thermal load on the surroundings, or a faraway place, there may be the fume getting dispersed there and mixing up with the moisture and leading to other like acidic things and all. That possibility is there. But in general, we see that is what is the coal dominating one in terms of producing our electrical energy. India has coal and lignite and fourth largest producer in the world. Okay, so it is third in global consumption and fourth in global production, India with respect to coal. Coming to oil, Indian share of primary energy consumption is 36%. It is by oil, and we look at it 32 million tons per year used versus 110 million ton demand. Demand is more, so where all it is available, Bombay High, Upper Assam, Cambay, Krishna Godavari Basin, like that. And sector-wise use, transport sector 42%, mainly for vehicles and all. Domestic application 24%, and industry also 24%. Actually, India is one of the 10 top oil guzzling nations of the world, and it is third in Asia after China and Japan. So it has some oil reserves, but it is importing huge. So when we talk of this exchequer, the payments to other countries, what we pay, it is so huge. It is one of the highest in the world that way in terms of import of oil. So that is what we are importing. That is a big problem there. So in terms of saving ourselves, like energy security, we have to really think a lot in this direction. You may also be aware that when Mr. Vajpayee was the Prime Minister, they had initiated the things like Energy Conservation Act of 2001, Electricity Act of 2003. Lot of revolutionary things have happened since then, and we see in areas like near Mangalore, Padur, or in Visakhapatnam, somewhere in the surroundings, or in the Rajasthan, some places and all. What we know that there are some oil storage which was non-existing earlier, and these are all the type of storage which are, of course, they import oil, not our local oil. They import, and at some low price they import and keep it, get it stored, so that this oil can be, if something goes on, the disruption is there, then people say that we can continue without any import for 15 days or likewise. Okay, so it can give us that much of security. So this is what we import oil, and of course the price stability also can be done through that import by through that storage, import and storage. So these are all the things that is happening in the oil. Then coming to the natural gas, it is the Indian share coming from natural gas is 8.9% in the year 2004, and there are reserves in India. It is available, and still some new fields they are finding. So of course, India is also importing natural gas. So overall, if you see thermal, nuclear, and hydro, wind. So this was the scenario way back. Thermal, as I told, around 70%, nuclear 2.4, very less, hydro 25.6, then wind also 1.7%. So at that time, peak demand shortage of 14% was there, and energy deficit of 8.4%. Now I would like to draw your attention that in the year 2018, probably you have heard that India, temporarily at least, they declared that we are energy surplus nation. That is a great change from what we see here and what has happened. Um, maybe maybe economy slowdown also may be one reason, but another reason, lot of efficiency improvements have happened over the years because of Energy Conservation Act 2001. It looks like, otherwise it is always energy deficit, and if it is to become energy surplus, then there has to be really something going on very in a revolutionary way. uh, okay, moving on. Sector-wise usage, industry is consuming 49% of the. This is sector-wise energy consumption. The major commercial energy consuming sectors in the country are industry, agriculture, residential, transport. Of course, there are commercial when we say others. So this is the segment-wise energy use. Industry consumes 49%, agriculture 5%, residential 10%, transport 22%. These figures slightly keep on varying. So if you look at it, a more detailed picture of year 2009. So coal was 52%, so it has slightly come down. Diesel is 1%, nuclear is 3%, gas, natural gas 10%. Then renewable energy source is 34%. In that, it is this much is wind. Then 78% coming from the hydro water, means the dams and all. So likewise, that is the contribution. Total 34% renewable energy sources. So this is the latest figure which I got by Professor N.P. Padhe of IIT Roorkee. So where he has said the total installed capacity is 369.427 gigawatt. In that the proportions are given: coal, hydro, nuclear, diesel, gas, and renewable. We can see that renewable is catching up. So renewable is something like 86.79 gigawatts. So what he has said, that is something like you can see in the slide here. So it is something like 16.1%, but they are hoping that it will reach to 40%. That's what, as Prime Minister of India has committed to the world bodies, that he will meet that requirement of renewable or low carbon footprint fuels power generation by the year 2030. So this is what they are ambitious. Actually, what it is said in that by Professor Padi, that 30%, 35% of this renewable energy is coming from the south region alone. So he was of the opinion that why don't the north, east, west also can create the same type of contribution, so that we will reach to 40% of renewable. Here in this context, I would like to draw your attention that I don't know whether how many of you have heard, at least I have heard or I have seen, the wind blade manufacturing plant is closed, or the biomass briquette making. Of course, briquette is not for electrical, but the proportion electrical thing for heating purpose should come down, right? So I have been hearing very late that the biomass briquette briquette making companies are getting closed. They are ready to sell off their companies, or windmill blade manufacturing companies are closed. These are all the things we hear, but the data given by very authoritative source, or authority I can say, is saying that the today's data of 2020 speaks of 16.1% renewable energy. Then the question comes from where it has come. So for sure, it is not from biomass. It is not from so much. Of course, wind is there running at some places and all, but the bulk must have come from solar. So big revolution, silent revolution is happening. So that is what we can see here. So revolutionary things are happening in the field of renewable energy in India also. And if you see in segment wise, then the things may not be very promising. Like in case of biomass for power, I don't think so. The government has put full-hearted effort. Here, what happens, like the research efforts are not going on in full swing. Let me narrate one story in this regard. Like I am also a part of the government program early when they started initiating renewable program in the mid-80s. So I had an opportunity being in the IIT and working on the then Department of Non-Conventional Energy Sources biomass project. I was very much involved, and I developed a producer gas engine which is for power generation. But at that time we had seen that there are two aspects. One is the gasifier, another is the engine. One is the gasifier and the other is the engine. So the engine was developed fully perfectly for this application. Producer gas, you know that it is a gas of extreme low burning characteristics. So it is really difficult to burn in an engine on its own. On its own means using spark plug. But that challenge was taken and an engine was developed. But that is not the end of it. It has to have a steady, stable supply of gas, which is to be produced in a unit called gasifier. but the gasifier had problems like it is the solving of problem is equivalent to space technology. Anybody can make a gasifier, but the gasifier is give a stable, steady, tar-free and dust-free gas that is equivalent to space technology. So we had identified these are all the areas to be further refined. And what we saw, of course, I completed my PhD. Then, for my own reasons, we didn't have any such reasons, such institutions or research centers established here. So I had to venture into other areas. So what I saw down the line, nobody worked on those particular areas. So in the year 2016, when I went to University of Antwerp in Belgium, I made it a point to visit my professor in Berlin. He superannuated and he took me to University of Berlin where he had studied. So to my surprise, when I saw that there was they were having whatever we had left, and they were working on those particular points that how to improve the biomass gasifier. And really it was a surprise and was happy. But what I realized that how we become, instead of becoming masters, we become followers. So they will perfect the technology for sure, and we will just buy the technology. We do the technology transfer. So we won't be the owners, we'll be the followers, like that. So this is what I see. If we don't do our own research and establish, so that is where things will not be in our favor. Okay, coming to how to meet the increasing energy demand. So of course we can meet by two methods. One is the already known conventional way, using the fossil fuels. Of course that we know that it has a limited life and it can end anytime. As I told you earlier, whatever 50, 60 years or 100 or 200 years, it will be over. But you have non-fossil alternatives or renewable fuels which are inexhaustible. Like the sun energy itself is renewable, or it is infinite. Of course, all energy is sun energy only. Whatever on the earth it is there, it is based on the energy has come from sun and it got created. It in a way all are, whether renewable or non-renewable, they are all energy of the sun only. But when we see in a distinct way, then that is what we do this classification. So we have types of fossil fuels: coal, petroleum, natural gas. Nuclear, some people add it under renewable, some put under non-renewable. Anyway, let us not be bothered much about nuclear. It is for making of bombs, I think, less for energy. In some countries it is there. I will tell that story also. Nuclear, for example, the concern. Now, in this context, let me tell that when the Fukushima reactor in the 2000, I think 11, that tsunami came, so the reactor got damaged and the entire radiation started spreading across. So the Japan, some areas got devastated, and the country immediately got so much alarmed. Was I was told that Germany. So what Germans did, whatever nuclear plant they had, they just closed it, shut off. They shut it off. Of course, within the given some time frame, they shut it off and they restarted coal power plants. Okay, but with the intention that after some years they will compensate for whatever CO2 is put to the environment. Will compensate through the renewables. So this is what about nuclear. Just I mentioned how much concern some countries have for the nuclear fuels. So Germany was a country which was so much perturbed by the Japan that Fukushima reactor damage due to the tsunami of 2011. Okay, coming to all these conventional fuels or fossil-based fuels. For example, if it is natural gas, it is a composition of carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, sulfur, and oxygen. These are all the contents in it. Of course, the composition, they vary. I don't have the composition value put here. Similarly, petroleum or petrol or diesel, whatever, when we say petroleum, it has several things. Even flight petrol also comes under this. Petroleum, lubricating oil also comes under that. So it has carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, sulfur, oxygen, and minerals. Then coming to coal, it has carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, sulfur, oxygen, minerals. Now, any of these, when we burn it, so naturally the burning process, however you may have air availability, of course, I won't say as scientists, we should not say it is not possible. They have made it possible. We can see through the engine combustion over the year, like the year 1998 to 2020, tremendous transformation has happened in engine combustion. It is unimaginable that diesel has become like a petrol. It is simply unimaginable that nobody imagined that diesel will become like a combustion will become like petrol. So that much of scientific advance has happened with the help of electronics, computer science, and all in the mechanical engineering field. Of course, mechanical engineering field, that is what if we take earlier it is 100% cost is mechanical. Now it is 50% mechanical and 50% remaining electronics, computer science, electrical, like put together. That is what is the cost of the vehicle now. So what I am saying here is that a lot of efforts it can bring down, but when the combustion happens, let us say any hydrocarbon fuel, when it is completely burnt, it is supposed to give you carbon dioxide and water vapor. But in the process of combustion, let us say, when coal is burning, it may give you partial combustion product, a carbon monoxide. Also, it may give nitrogen oxide, sulfur dioxide. These are all the things which are called as pollutants. So products of complete combustion on one side, products of partial combustion or rearrangement that is happening during the combustion. So you will have two parts in it. So one part will lead to the local pollution. Of course, there will be a tall chimney and all. So when it's going through the chimney, then it may get carried away to faraway place, and then it can get converted to dilute nitric acid or sulfuric acid, and then they can get deposited on the trees or wherever. They can create a lot of CO2 is the thing which is damaging to the globe, not only to the local, damaging to the globe. That's why CO2 or from the fossil fuels we are so much concerned, because not only local pollution but global warming gas is coming out. That is what is a matter of great concern. So although we have such a beautiful power plants, and the things are changing, that is why I'll show you in subsequent slides how things are changing. Power plants, Indian government for coal power plant, if I read in the newspaper and I remember correctly, just 1 year back or so, the government of India didn't give permission to start 8 new coal power plants. So you can see when the new power plants are not started, then the corresponding jobs from the market gone in those areas. So this is how the job shift also happen from the main sector to the other sectors, like or into the new areas of energy. Okay, moving on. There are renewable energy like solar, wind. All of us know hydro, tidal and wave energy, geothermal, biomass, hydrogen energy. Likewise. Now let me tell you the societal impacts of using fossil fuels. So I have put into, of course, you don't get these things in any book or anywhere because I am way back 1986. In the days that when I was IIT, we were taught like how important is the subject ecology, for example. So here, when we as energy engineers, we must all remember there is one subject or course, whatever we say, is ecology. So when we study ecology along with the energy, that means ecology connects us to the environment. So energy and environment are intertwined, and people are doing here in India, their business people just concerned with only their business, nothing. They just talk environment and other things, just they talk, that's all, full stop. I think they make a lot of money, and they accumulate money for whom God knows, because the environmental consequences are so huge. People are building their empire, but they don't realize, or where they stand, the rug may be getting pulled off. So this is what is the great concern. So if they know, what is the consequences of environmental problems, like if they study this ecology and environment, then that's what they understand, how energy has to be used in a very judicious way, or how we have to make. That is what I will come to, that sustainable way. So I have put into 3 parts: existential, existence means its existence itself in question, how long it will come. So it is limited in the earth. So when we talk of fossil fuels, it has existential problem, it has a political problem, it has environmental problem. So these are all the problems. I'll briefly take through these problems. Like as I said earlier, see, this is another data collected from BP statistics of 2004. Oil, it is estimated 45 years, gas 65 years, coal little over 200 years. So these values may vary, but definitely it has a limited life. And now, how do they calculate these life? So I have put in one equation here. Of course, it is available in the books. So I have put a lot of mathematical models are available how to calculate the life of a given fuel. For example, this equation is used to calculate the life of coal, how long it will last. Here, this formula is given. This formula is given in this formula where R is the amount available and P dash the present production rate. Assuming value of R to be the available reserves of 98,246 9 lakh 80,000 million tons in the year 2004, and substituting P dash, that is the value for P dash is the amount means the present production rate. Okay, from this you can calculate n. This n you can calculate, and for a growth rate of 3%, like your economy is growing at some rate, so the energy demand is there. Let us say economy is growing at a very fast rate and the demand is increasing. Let us say the R is instead of 3%, then it is 5%. Then this n will come down to say 50 years. Or if this R goes to 10%, then it may come to 30 years. So that is how they calculate how long it will last. So I given the formula for calculation of coal life. So political means, for example, you have come across why these wars have happened, especially in our own eyes. We have seen when I think George Bush Senior was the president of US, how the Kuwait war happened, or much before that, 1973, Suez crisis. That also a war between I think Israel and the Arabs. So in that context, the oil price started shooting up. But as a precursor to that, there was one report written, Limits to Growth. In that people came to know that the population is expanding and resources limited. So what these oil exporting countries they did, they all united and they started increasing the price of the petroleum petroleum particular, because they are rich in petroleum. So they started increasing. And by that time, the leading powers like US, they had sold off they had exported or they had finished almost their oil which was available in their Texas oil field. So they are like sort of not having this rich energy, which these countries, for example, the country which are in the Gulf region, they are having this oil considerable, but those users of this oil, means importers of this oil, they are politically, otherwise they are very powerful, economically and all, but they don't have oil. So they start playing with these people that they control these people. So you can see that the Middle East, here you see in this graph, Middle East percentage of global reserves, how much they have. Okay, in the year 2002 and year 2020, you can see that their oil reserves has expanded further. And if you look at Europe, Asia Pacific, Africa, South America, former Soviet Union, North America, they look nothing actually. So these people are having extraordinary reserves, but they are politically very unstable region. So that is why we can remember that how US got involved in the US got involved in the war. Of course, now also, whatever we see in Afghanistan and all, or in Iraq and all, some way it is all having this connection to this oil, retaining and controlling that oil. Because US and all have the oil, but when the prices go up, then only it will become economical to explore that oil, which is there in very much in depth. So that is what I told political. So that is what I told things existential, Then I told you political. Now I'll come to the environmental problems of these fossil fuels. So, most important environmental impact caused by energy source are global climate change and acid rain, both of which have the origin in the combustion of fossil fuels and lead to global or transboundary effects. So, what is pollution? Of course, all of us know what is pollution. There are different types of pollution: water pollution, air pollution, soil pollution, thermal pollution. As I told, in the vicinity of this power plant, there could be thermal pollution. All pollution controlled. Some type of pollution maybe there are still radioactive pollution, noise pollution, light pollution. Likewise, these are all the main things which have been categorized under pollution. Then you have global warming. Uh, Global warming. The globe is heating up, as we all know, because um, okay, let me quickly tell you what happened in the earlier days. People did not know when they invented IC engine and they put it to use. They did not know that the engine combustion has harmful or the poisonous gas in it. What happened in the beginning in Europe, because we know Germany is the fatherland and motherland. Fatherland invention of engine and automobile, and motherland because they make a lot of automobiles. So in Germany, when they invented all this, then people started using all across Europe. In the beginning stages, it started happening people in the garage they used to sleep. Next day they used to be dead bodies. So then they started realizing what is happening. And it is not at one place, at several places, identical deaths used to be reported. Then only they realized, oh, it could be because of the heat of the engine exhaust. They were sleeping in the garage, putting the engine on and closing it completely. Otherwise, in a cold country, we can't remain even a second inside without space heating. So they were keeping the engine on and making the space heated up by the engine exhaust with the shutter closed. So next day what happens? They were dead bodies because there was no oxygen, all taken over by the poisonous CO and other gases in the engine exhaust. So they realized, mankind realized, oh, engine exhaust has this type of harmful content. That is how they came to know about it, which is reported in a Springer book, Springer Verlag publication book, and IIT Bombay had read. I don't have the copy now, but this is what it is really reported in that book like this, the story of the engine exhaust emissions. Now, later in the London smog, 1952, something like 12,000 people died, or Los Angeles in California smog of 1943. All happened due to the industrial activities. One due to the industry, another due to automobile. Like that put together, uh, smoke plus fog is smog. Because the time constraint, I will not go through the details, but these are all happened by vehicular and industrial pollution. So what happens in Delhi? The same thing nowadays it happens. That is why they had odd and even rule and things like that. So this has been experienced by the mankind much earlier, and because of that, they have started putting, like through the United Nations, they started putting the emissions regulation in place. So the emissions regulation started coming in bit earlier, say 1960s, 70s and all. But from the late or 1998 onwards, they started this stage 0, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now from 5 we have moved to stage 6. Of course, India copies the European Union standards, so we convert Euro stage 6 to directly with some small changes. We convert that standard and we call it as Bharat stage 6. So if anybody is buying nowadays a vehicle, so it is of stage 6. That means that much of emission reduction is happening. Like if we compare the vehicle of today with the 1998 vehicle, there is 95% or more reduction of all these poisonous gases from the engine exhaust. Like if you take the case of California, you can understand that it is said, it is reported in a magazine I have read. It says that in the state of California, the engine air that inhales, the engine exhaust is cleaner than the engine air that it inhales. So that is the stringent rule in the state of California. So much change is possible. So because it is a valley, they have similar problem. Whatever you see in this graph, if they don't control, they will have this type of situation, and thousands of people will die in no time. They can't breathe. Like the Delhi has a similar problem. So Delhi also is now restricting diesel vehicles. I think new vehicles won't be registered like that, and all we are hearing in the news. So these are all the societal impacts of bad air quality. Like I have visited Delhi way back. I will tell you again one story here. I after my MTech, I worked for one company in Mumbai. And of course, it was under Rajiv Gandhi's water mission. I was connected with that project. So I was going to different state capitals, including Delhi. So one day I was standing in the Delhi to go somewhere. That during those days, that hotpot auto rickshaws were very famous, and it was almost filled. Then I asked the driver why you are not moving. Then he said he will move only if the vehicle gives the black smoke, because that is an indication that it's now loaded or overloaded. Otherwise, he will not move. See, this is what was the situation in Delhi. Maybe around I think I am telling you year 1989. So so much was the so much is the change now. So if you don't change, then we are finished. So that is what the fossil fuel is creating so much havoc to the environment. So acid rain associated, like when the flue gases go out, and then they can there can be, as I told you, sulfur is there, nitrogen is there. All these can get oxidized, sulfur dioxide or nitrogen oxides. Then they can get converted into dilute acids, nitric acid, sulfuric acid, like that. So when that is how it becomes acid rain. Acid rain can be carried away. These particles in the air can be carried away to faraway places also. They can get deposited on the land, on the trees, on the water bodies, everywhere. Actually, it is said that in the state of Scandinavia, I think somewhere it is there. It is spread everywhere, so that there is a problem. Like in the last statement here, you can see Sweden suffer from acid rain because of huge sulfur emissions from Eastern European power plants with low emission standards, and because of wind blowing the particles over to their country. So Sweden is not Sweden is a victim. Somebody else is producing, and unfortunately the air is blowing in their direction, so they are suffering. See, this is what happens when you are pollution, global warming, and all things. When we talk, this is what for not our mistakes we suffer. And similarly, damage done to trees and soil. This is happening in Europe. Acid rain is absorbed in the soil. Soil also becomes useless, and even trees get damaged. See, you can see the tree without leaves here, all got destroyed by the acid rain. Similarly, any monuments, anything is there, they also get destroyed. Even the building material crumble away, metals are corroded, color in paint is spoiled, leather is weakened, and rust formed on the surface of glass. Even the glass looks bad. So these are all the things, the effect of acid rain. How it affects the lakes, water bodies, and water bodies over the past years. I think last paragraph you can see here. Over the past year, they have received a lot of acid rain as a result of the wind blowing the particles in their country. Of course, it is Sweden, England, Scotland, and Eastern Europe. Since the 1930s and 40s, some Swedish lakes have increased acidic levels in their rainwater by up to 1,000 times. So this is what is the problem. So it is said that if the water level pH approaches 6, this sentence, some insects and some plankton species begin to disappear. See how it disappears. Water will have normal pH, right? As the acid fall into the water pH keeps coming down. So as pH approaches 5, major changes in the make of the plankton community occur. Less desirable species of mosses and plankton may begin to invade. So the good species will go, bad species will come. Below pH of 5, the water is largely devoid of fish. Fish will die. The bottom is covered with the undecayed material, and the near shore areas may be dominated by moss. So this is how the entire water body gets spoiled due to acid rain and its interaction in the lakes. Similarly, human health, like it is a reported problem. Of course, it's not only acid rain or connected with that, even our whatever emissions come out of the power plants, if people are getting that emission somehow they breathe in a continuous way, for there are two things set, like if it's a sewer inhalation, then some quantity the person can be recovered, but if it is nitrogen oxides inhaled, it is like a slow killer, but the reverse can't be done. Like if somebody is inhaling nitrogen oxide for longer duration, and what happens? It will keep on doing damage to the lungs. Okay, so the lungs will keep on getting damaged, and that is the way a day will come. It can never ever be reversed. It's like the death is definite. So that is what is called nitrogen oxides are called a vicious pollutant. Unfortunately, in diesel vehicles it is there. Petrol vehicle it is there, but it's less quantity. Diesel vehicle it's more. That is why diesel vehicle is dangerous in that front. Similarly, these power plants and all, they will have this. So that is one problem. Similarly, acid rain, if it is those acid rain related contents, if we breathe and all, this is what in the US it was reported that people are having these type of problems. Even effect of ozone also in the of course, in stratosphere, ozone would be there, but here it is not supposed to be there. All industrial activity leads to ozone formation. Ozone formation also is bad. It will destroy the paint, textile, rubber, and plastic, and it will do so many other damages as well. Sea pollution, now because of the exportation of the oil from these Middle East country, for example, which is having nearly 80% of the oil reserves, and they go all across the globe, including America, Japan, everywhere it will go, coming to India also. So in one go to transfer faraway places, what they have done built large ships. So the large ships, whenever it goes, and while coming back, it will fill up with the water, and then the water is released back into the sea, and it is all with petroleum, crude petroleum mixes. So this is how even otherwise some accident happens, entire oil gets spilled onto the sea, and it goes to thousands of square kilometers. So these are all the problems of the sea pollution caused by transportation of oil. So of course, climate change, we know there is uh, we keep receiving from the solar energy. Certain part keeps getting absorbed on the earth, certain part gets reflected, and this is the routine thing which is going on. Okay, and this is required also. That is how the seasons happen. We say now it is summer, winter, rain season. Cyclically way it is happening because of that solar energy coming on the earth. Some part is absorbed in the water, some part on the land, some part is reflected, and a fixed proportion of that it keeps on happening. But unfortunately, what is happening, we are altering the content of the atmosphere by letting more carbon dioxide. Whatever carbon is lying inside, we are oxidizing it to carbon dioxide and leaving it to the environment. Unfortunately, what happens, that gets trapped here in the higher zone, and carbon dioxide has a great property that its specific heat is high, and whatever the sunlight that is getting reflected, it will not allow that to reflect. Means whatever it can hold, it will hold that much of sun rays, means the sun energy. So that is how the earth gets getting heated up. So this is actually this is a recorded thing which people like United Nations has like here you can see official confirmation of global climate change came in 1995 when the UN Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change IPCC, an official appointed international panel of over 2,500 of the world's leading scientific experts, found that the balance of the evidence suggests a human influence on the global climate. So they decided that yes, it is happening. Otherwise, there were this is 1995. When I was doing MTech 1986 to 88, there were two lobbies. One lobby was telling that it is happening. Another lobby was countering it and telling it is not happening. The counter lobby is more powerful oil lobby. And in the year 1994, I had attended the World Renewable Energy Congress in Reading, UK. And in that, Mrs. Menaka Gandhi also was leading the Indian delegation. Of course, I had gone as a student from Germany as a DAD fellow. So I presented my paper also, but I have come across a lot of papers in that conference where it is even said renewable type of fuels also are not totally, people are calling it pollution free. There are pollution or there are other related aspects which are which may be, but of course not to the extent like what we talk of fossil fuels. But in that conference I had come across so many papers. They talk of wind energy, for example, in the downstream lake, how it gets disturbed and things like that. So many papers are presented. So see, during those days, 1994 or before, there were two lobbies, and the lobby, powerful oil lobby, was not allowing anything to go ahead in the renewable energy field. They were just cutting it short, like how the drug mafia is there now. So similar thing is the oil lobby, so powerful. So of course now see, one good thing of these Western developed nations is that something they find there, the public opinion gets built up, and that is how they go ahead. They say it is not only the business interest. I think that is what one must appreciate, that it is taken forward that yes, it is happening, is happening. Okay, let us reverse. What can be done? So. Actually, it was found that 1998 was the hottest year, but it is further seen in the 2017 another hottest year, and lot of things are repeating now, like extreme rainfall or drought or so many things in a span of 15 20 years, which was never heard earlier in a span of 50 years or 100 years or so. But now these occurrences are very often. That is what is the big concern. See, US spent so much of money in the year 1994-98. So many deaths had happened in the US, and billions of dollars of money are wasted on controlling these. Not controlling exactly, money is spent because hurricane means it comes damages, and that's the money they have to spend in rebuilding. So likewise, US is spending a lot of money. Even in India, we see, like, of course, now we have excellent weather warning system, so death doesn't happen so many, but the devastation on the land, means on the building and other infrastructure, it happens. So that is what we have been seeing in the last few years in India. So a lot of damage is done, so economy is destroyed. So climate change, actually why this climate change and the nutrient cycle, what we call biogeochemical cycle, why all these things happen? Because we disturb the nature so much, and that is how people should get connected with all these type of cycles. So climate change happens, it will disturb those cycles. So nutrient cycling for each one of us, all the organisms on the earth, we need hydrogen, oxygen, carbon, nitrogen, phosphorus, and sulfur, and they keep happening in a routine way. Like if we are not, human intervention is not there, it will keep on happening, and for that much of disturbance, it may take millions of years. But human intervention, just within 200 years, everything is finished. Like that. That is what is the speed at which human intervention is happening. So humans are doing such a great damage. In the normal, what we say, entropy, it may happen as I told, it may take substantial, like millions of years that to happen. But in this case, it is so fast, and of course, these are all the main things, elements required for all living organisms and other things. But also there are trace elements, additional elements required, like calcium and other things. And so I'll not go into the details, but one must know that these are all the cycles, very important cycles, what are called biogeochemical cycles. It has nitrogen, oxygen, carbon, water cycle. Then also other cycle like iron, calcium, phosphorus, sulfur, and these are all the things. If you see in the net, you will get. So what is carbon cycle? The carbon cycle is nature's way of reusing carbon atoms which travel from the atmosphere into organisms in the earth and then back into the atmosphere over and over again. Actually, this carbon cycle, when we have more of carbon dioxide and things like that in the atmosphere, it will get disturbed. Similarly, nitrogen cycle. It is a repeating cycle of processes during which nitrogen moves through both living and non-living things, the atmosphere, soil, water, plants, animals, and bacteria. In order to move through the different parts of the cycle, nitrogen must change forms. So nitrogen changes the forms. If you see in the cycle, it will change the form. How do humans impact the nitrogen cycle? Ecological implications of human alteration to the nitrogen cycle. Many human activities have a significant impact on the nitrogen cycle. Burning fossil fuels, application of nitrogen-based fertilizers, and other activities can dramatically increase the amount of biologically available nitrogen in an ecosystem. So if more nitrogen means the plant will grow only, it will not give any yield. So these are the disturbances that will happen due to our industrial and other activities using the fossil fuels. Similarly, hydrolytic cycle or the water cycle. The water cycle shows the continuous movement of water within the earth and atmosphere. Liquid water evaporates into water vapor condenses to form clouds, and precipitates back to Earth in the form of rain and snow. Water in different phases moves through the atmosphere. Okay, so this is what is called as the water cycle. Phosphorus cycle. Similarly, we have the phosphorus cycle, sulfur cycle. Similarly, so how humans affect the sulfur cycle? Human activities have a major effect on the global sulfur cycle. The burning of coal, natural gas, and other fossil fuels has greatly increased the amount of sulfur in the atmosphere and ocean and depleted the sedimentary rock things. Oxygen cycle, of course, the most important cycle for us. Uh, Oxygen cycle, along the carbon cycle and nitrogen cycle, plays an essential role in the existence of life on the Earth. The oxygen cycle is a biological process which helps in maintaining the oxygen level by moving through three main spheres of the Earth: atmosphere, stratosphere, lithosphere. Plants and animals use oxygen to respire and return it to the air and water as carbon dioxide. So this is what is the oxygen cycle. So they are all extremely important. So in short, one must remember that biogeochemical cycle, and that's how we get connected. Nutrient cycling, and we get connected with ecosystem. So when we burn fossil fuels, this ecosystem gets disturbed. So our nutrient cycle will get disturbed. So that is how the disease starts spreading. So these are all the problems associated with that. So what is the alternative to the depleting conventional fuel resource? Renewables. Is it renewable? I'm asking. So challenges, it's not that renewable also everything comes so easily. Challenges with the renewable source. It has a competition for land. When you talk of renewable, like if you have to have a biomass, you have to have a social forestry. So you have to dedicate the land to grow. Whether you can, whether the competition comes like the land is required for energy crop, required for food culture. It's the increasing population. You have competition for food, for energy, for living also, for house making, for commercial and industrial establishment, for businesses and all, for road and freeways, for recreation and other human activities. So we need land for so many things. So can we have energy for renewables, land for energy for renewables? Then problem of uniform availability. If you have seen, there is a span curve or a duct curve. Solar energy peaks in the noon. It peaks in the noon time. Even I have done experiments and seen like it is peaking during the noon time. And if big utilities, they use solar energy, and then they cut off the main power supply, then that is going to be a disaster, because they can't rely solar energy that way that the main demand can be cut off, because solar is giving lot of power during the noon time. So these are all the challenges are there. They have to have adequate storage devices, so that in the noon time, whatever power is generated, it can be stored and it can be used when during the morning peak or evening peak time. Wind energy peaks at night when demand is low. So this is the problem of solar energy and wind energy. So also at present, low efficiency, high space requirement, high cost. Energy storage issues, as I told, energy storage devices are not there, which are very expensive, and no solution has been as of now found. Lack of affordable energy storage devices, power density or the energy density issues. Like I'll show that in the next graph. So is it really pollution free? All renewable? Really don't know. People are not talking now. They are silent, but everybody says clean energy. But as I told you, in the 1994 World Renewable Energy Congress, a lot of papers were presented where the negative side of renewable energy were also talked. So it will have some negatives, but that is why we have to move into further. Okay, so this is what people are talking of, the total potential from renewable. You can see a tiny box here. Okay, so that is the global primary energy consumption now. It's 15 PW. Okay, but you can see all renewable has so much of potential, much bigger than this. The smallest one I think here is uh, looks like hydro energy here. So hydro energy is put here, 1 times of this, 1 times of this. So likewise 2 times of 10 times, 20 times, 200 times. Solar is 1800 times of this. So this is what is a big box. So that is having so much of potential, but how to exploit that potential is the challenge. So it is predicted, earlier graphs we saw that See, this is very contradictory graph. I would like to draw your attention. Inforces, it is a Institute for Sustainable Energy, a US-based organization. What they say in contrary to what International Energy Agency or European Union and USA they talk, this one particular agency tells that it is in the year 2050 the energy demand will come down. They say why it comes down because increase in energy efficiency by 2 to 7 times, especially in the renewable front. There is going to be energy efficiency improvement of 2 to 7 times, and renewable energy is used. So they will move as per their estimates. It is said that it will come down, but this is a contradiction with respect to other agencies. This is what I see in the literature. They say that as the population is growing, it is said that up to 2050 the world population will increase, then it will come down. But here, as per this graph, it will energy consumption is coming down. Why it is coming down? Because it is mainly renewable and they are having 2 to 7 times of efficiency improvement, and it may be a possibility also. But if you see the other their counter agencies graphs, then it shows, of course, it is the same graph again, which industrialized nations will use less energy by 2050, and developing country like us, we will use more energy. As I told in the beginning, the vice versa. I told you in the beginning that we use, as of now, we use less energy, they use more energy. But this agency has a prediction that by 2050, that industrial nations will use less energy and developing nations will use more energy. Of course, this is how the countries will use OECD, Middle East, Asia, and I will not go into the details. Let us see fossil fuel in 2017 and 2050. If you see fossil oil, gas, and coal, you can see that the coal consumption by 2050 is coming down. Here it is almost half of 2017. By 2050, that means coal is not gone; it is there. Okay, but its consumption is coming down. It means its use is coming down. But you can see that uh, what component is going up is gas. Gas is going up, means natural gas is going up. Similarly, oil is also coming down. What is the present level and what is going to be in 2050? Oil will come down, gas will slightly go up, and coal will come down, and the rest will be by renewables. So I'll give you a state of India, like in the last 3 years, what has happened in India. I told you, like some of the power generation, like by coal, in the last year or so, government cancelled the 8 coal power plants. They cancelled. So you can see the growth is happening in the renewables. You can see coal coming down or remaining almost. See coal here in this year 2017, 2018. I don't have the figure for 19 and 20, but coal has come down. Wind, of course, wind is in 2018 slightly smaller, but let us see in overall this thing, total renewable energy. It was 42% in the year 2016, gone up to 66%, and it has further gone up to 74%. So in the last 3-4 years, they are not giving permission to coal-based power plants, so they are giving permission to the renewables. So things are changing. So the job scene also will accordingly change. Of course, this is a figure up to 2030 by another agency. Now, I was telling you what is Ragon plot. What is the problem with all the renewable energy type of fuels? See, if we take internal combustion engine fuels, they are somewhere here because they will have high specific energy and a high power, or power density and energy density. In a liter of petrol, 1 liter of petrol will have good power and good energy. But the same is not the case. Like if you take a capacitor, for example, then it will have high specific power may be there, but energy will not be there. Energy means it is the quantity, but the quantity that is released per unit time is the power. So the quantity released per unit time is also very important. Abundance energy, sun has abundance energy, but the quantity that is released per time is important. So that is what Ragoni plot is very important. From this we understand like whatever we do, it has to be in this zone. So then only we can achieve with whatever compactness the IC engines are giving to the vehicle. So when they talk of battery, the size of the battery goes up considerably because it doesn't have both requirements like here. If the day it comes here, then it will become a compact like the present day IC engine vehicle. So this is what is important in the Dragon plot. So duct curve I told you earlier. So the duct curve has been coming more and more like a duct shape in the year 2020. So this is a big challenge for those utility companies. So especially in the noon time, it is maximum energy is this solar energy is giving. So minimum demand on the utility means the conventional power generation, but they can't put out the conventional power generation, so they have to keep producing because they require at other places, right? So that is where is the challenge for them. So power plant has to run with a certain capacity range, so that power gets wasted. So there has to be arrangement to save this energy otherwise. So these are all the challenges with the renewable energy. Now you also must know that there is a biofuel. We are into the fourth generation. We started the first generation, edible biomass. So food and fuel are competing each other. So they went to the second generation where non-edible biomass and waste only were used. So they were not competing with the food. They further found that this is not very expensive and all. So they went to the third generation. So in the third generation, it is algal biomass only they are using. And now further, they said here efficiency is bit lower and all. So that's what they breakthrough technology in the fourth generation biofuel. That is what using algae and other technologies. They are into it, and they are saying that there may be a breakthrough in terms of fuel production. So sustainable need. So how the problem of fossil fuel and renewable fuel could be overcome? So people think like the moment we say renewable energy or alternative fuels, it's not sustainable energy. So sustainable means it has a specific meaning. So with the sustainable energy only we can solve our problems, not by just conventional fossil fuels or just by saying renewable. It is not renewable energy; it has to be sustainable energy. So sustainable energy is possible through decentralized power generation. So nowadays we come across not the central power grid. It is somewhere there at faraway place, thousands of kilometers the power is spread and there will be distribution loss. Whatever power produced, 25% or 30 or 50% goes as waste in the wire. It gets heated and wasted on the way. That is why, in order to avoid all those things, this distributed or decentralized power generation concept is coming up. And this, of course, it is not coming up now. During, I told you, when I got involved with the central government energy scheme of 1980s, we were talking of decentralized power generation. But it is happy that we see more in reality nowadays. I think that is what is going to the future. So accordingly, our job also will change as per this new requirement. So this is what we see the changes happening. So what the oil lobby is doing, the oil lobby also is changing to the renewable fuel. Like the big companies like Enron, Shell, British Petroleum, they are all going for renewable energy. Reason being, they think that they are in the vicinity of countries like us, so they can supply us, or they can use the renewable energy. And because they are producing green energy, they can supply oil to us like that. That is the global body or the United Nations have the carbon credit system wherein if they make some renewable or whatever green energy, then they can sell the old energy like that. So that is in that context they are working hard on renewables which they were opposing. Like as I told you in 1994 and all, they were dead against this renewable energy development, but now they are actively involved in the development of renewable energy. So this is what even the Saudi Arabia country as a whole, they are into renewable energy, solar energy in particular, and they are also into wind energy. So job loss, yes, I will tell you how the job loss. Even I am an engine specialist, and I felt uh, yeah, it is like a feeling like the rug is pulled under our feet. Having done so much work, you feel one day that technology is becoming outdated. And I have read an article from the Detroit of the United States, which is the mecca of automobiles, like the central hotspot of automobiles all over the world is Detroit. So there thousands of engine specialists are there. Now they are feeling they are losing their job because in the way America it works. I had my on job role. I was in touch with the US company called Navistar. Navistar trucks you are able to see. I have visited their Chicago plant also. So where I come to know that they are centers of excellence. Center of excellence means one person is working for 20 or 25 years in the crank oil pan only. Oil pan. When the vehicle goes up or down or left or right, how the oil will move in the and how engine will be supplied the oil. He will be expert on that. Now, such an expert, when the things are changing to electrical, where is its use? He becomes jobless. So this is what the jobless thing is going to happen. And of course, the jobs are getting created in the renewable energy field. This is what the projections given by European Union, some agency. So new jobs will get created. So that is what is the thing. So can the problem of energy be solved through sustainable development? Yes. Actually, I will tell you, I will not go into the details. I have as scientists, when somebody comes and asks, we can't say no, not possible. We have to say yes, maybe. So, but this I am not saying yes, maybe. It is yes, 100% has happened. Ozone layer started depleting. Then the United Nations saw that some corrective action has to be taken. So they wanted to close all production of freon gas, which is used in the refrigerator. So in the year 2010 onwards, no production and use of freon gas. Whatever was manufactured kept, that one was used. And now it's a great thing that ozone layer is getting recovered. And the news has come just 2 years back. So that is a recovery. And another thing what we see is the automobile exhaust emissions. Earlier, any city, for Bangalore or Delhi, in the evening around 5 o'clock used to be very hazy. Like it was looking like dark. But nowadays, if you see, or the cars, whatever diesel cars we see, it is not showing any smoke. So that is what is the improvement over the year by a combination of engineering, mechanical, then computer science, electronics, like combination. They have worked and they have made tremendous changes. So that is what, when we say in the context of energy, societal changes, definitely sustainable development is the need of the hour. Not so that is what I want to use the word sustainable energy than renewable energy. Sustainable means it will take care of the environmental aspects, it will take care of the economical aspect, it will take care of the societal aspect, it will take care of everything. So it is an infinite way of living forever. So that is what is the explanation when I am asked what are the societal impact of increasing energy demand. So thank you for your patience. Any questions? Hello.
Hello, sir. Thank you for the wonderful and informative session, sir. Sir, there are a few questions in the chat box. I'll convey it to you, sir.
Yeah, please, sir. Shall I stop here sharing?
Yes, sir.
Sharing someone.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. The first question is, sir, many researchers are using nanometals in biodiesel to enhance the performance of the engines. What are the emission effects of on the society of such nanometals after it undergoes combustion?
Yeah, okay. I also know that nanometals are being used for like improving the combustion and reducing the emissions. But see, this is what is the new technology, and its after effect is not known. So I can say that much only, because any new technology may have a problem, we don't know. But as I told you, like the improvement in the ozone layer, because they cut down the freon gas. Okay, so there has been improvement. Similarly, the after effects we will come to know later. We will not know immediately, because somebody has to parallelly, like how they give a medicine now for corona, for example, how they simultaneously study clinical trial and all, and see whether any impact on the other organs of the body and any impact to the body overall. I think in engineering we can't do that type of parallel studies. So it is difficult for me to tell what is its effect later. There may be or may not be. That needs to be studied.
Okay, sir. One more question is, sir, you gave example of lessons learned by Germany to the Japan's nuclear disaster. Sir, what's your opinion that India should be nuclearly strengthened, or it must follow the Germans' course of action regarding usage of nuclear power?
Yeah, actually now India is see, Germany is whatever maybe economy is a big economy. Of course, we are bigger than that, and it is relatively a small country. India is like the entire European Union. So when we say whether this option is good for India or not, it's a very difficult thing to tell in a holistic way for India. Okay, my personal opinion, what I can tell you that people are going away from nuclear energy, away from coal, and they are going into the renewable or the sustainable energy, and that is the energy of the future. So nuclear energy is required for making bombs.
Okay, sir. Sir, one more question. Sir,
No, that is a request. Yeah.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, please.
One more question, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, is it possible to interpret present corona pandemic as an environmental effect on humanity and from engineering perspective, like change in climate conditions that flavor the growth of COVID-19?
This is a very, what I can say, controversial thing. I think I have also read the article saying that what we call that in the what is the fifth generation phone? What is that called?
5G, 5G.
5G. So there used to be big articles. I have read that going for 5G has created a new type of virus, and like that also theory is getting quoted. But these are all not confirmed. But definitely it has been said in general by doctors also. Like when we charge our phone or when we use this hotspot, there are risks of radiation. So similarly, as I said, how acid rain can cause the problem of good organism can be destroyed and bad organism can come up if it is in acid rain, as reported in literature. Then yes, it may be a possibility that that a new type of virus formed. Either it is a controversy is there. It's man-made. If not man-made, if it has got created, then it could be a problem of our own greed, maybe. Maybe it is difficult to say. There are controversies regarding this.
Okay, sir. Those were the few questions from the chat box, sir. And thank you for the wonderful and informative session too. And we also like to thank on behalf of Department of Mechanical Engineering, Mangalore Institute of Technology and Engineering, and behalf of all the participants, sir. Thank you very much for the wonderful session, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Thanks to all the participants for patient hearing. Thank you, sir.